this, you've all probably signed up and gotten a Zoom account through the district using your MDUSD.org email address. You have to do this in order to host a meeting. So to do that, you just go to zoom.us and enter your work email on the web page, sign up for free, and once you do that, you will get access to what the district has decided you can have as a teacher in the district. Some of the settings are going to be set up by the district for you, and then there are other things you can do to customize your own account as you see fit. But you'll need to host a meeting on Zoom. You got to sign up and get an account. You'll sign up with your MDUSD.org email address at zoom.us. In addition, there's software for Zoom on practically every platform, right? Mac, Windows, just go to zoom.us/download, and the website will sense whether you're using a Mac or a PC to connect and offer you the Zoom software to download. In addition, there's versions of Zoom that run on iPhones. There's versions of Zoom that run on Android. You can get those from the respective app stores and install them in the usual fashion. Once you do that, if you launch the Zoom software on your Mac or PC, and that really is probably the best device to use to run a class. You can run a class using an iPad or an iPhone, but the screens are so much smaller. The options are much better on a traditional desktop computer. So download the Zoom software, and when you run it, this is the main Zoom window that you're going to see. Again, this is the Mac version. I'm sure the Windows version is very, very similar. But this is the main interface into your Zoom account, right? Along the top of this window, there are some buttons: Home, Chat, Meetings, Contacts, a search field, and this button in the corner that's got my picture on it is actually your account button. There's a way to set up your Zoom account to plug your picture into your account so that it gives you a little bit more customizability, I guess is a word, for your account. In addition, if you decide to turn your camera off, the Zoom account will substitute your picture for the live video behind you. That's what Gerald has got going right now if you're looking at him on the screen. Lacking a picture, will just plug your name in, which is what we're seeing with Joel right now because his camera's turned off. So this is the main home screen for the Zoom interface. From here, you can start a meeting, you can join a meeting, you can schedule a meeting, you can share your screen if you're already involved in a meeting. And you'll also see a list of upcoming meetings for a given day on the right side of this window. Okay. I'm going to just touch on a couple of these buttons and what they do. The next one I want to talk about is this Meetings button at the top. If you click the Meetings button, this is where you'll see a list on the left-hand side of all of your upcoming meetings, as well as any meetings you've recorded. And selecting any one of these meetings on the left-hand side will show you details about the meeting on the right. In addition to being able to start a meeting from here, you can copy the meeting invitation, which is all visible down below. You can edit the meeting, delete the meeting, whatever you need to do. We're going to talk very, very briefly, I think a little bit later, about creating a meeting. But once you have scheduled a meeting, it becomes part of your account. It's accessible through this Meetings button in the main Zoom window. And you can select any of these meetings that may appear on the left-hand side and get details about the meetings on the right-hand side. I mentioned this account button in the upper right-hand corner. This is where you will go to see if you are logged in correctly. You can change your settings from here. You can also check for Zoom updates from here. I want to mention that Zoom updates button in particular because the Zoom folks are constantly updating their software, adding additional features, changing the location of some settings. You know, when the pandemic and the shelter-in-place stuff first hit, a lot of people jumped into Zoom just to keep track on a personal basis with other people. And Zoom had some security issues at the very start of things. And they've since been tightening down a lot of the security holes that were in place in Zoom. They've been issuing frequent updates. So it's a good idea to try to keep your software up to date consistently, because more security features are added, additional features are added. It's just a good idea for both you and your students to keep your Zoom software up to date. And this is where you would go to do that. You'd click this check for updates button, and the software will go out and get new software for you and offer to install it for you. Any questions about this piece so far? The main Zoom window, the home area, and the meetings area. And again, if you take the class from me, we get into much more depth about how all these things work together. But this is just kind of a quick and dirty overview of where to find meeting settings and where to check for updates. Okay. Once you decide you're going to do a class, you want to schedule a meeting with Zoom. You can do it one of two ways. From this main screen, the home area, you can just simply click this schedule button, and what you'll get is a little sheet that will appear in front of your main Zoom window. From here, all you have to do is provide a name of the meeting, maybe the name of your class, plug in the date and time. If this is a class that you're going to be teaching, say, every week on Wednesdays from 1 to 2 p.m., you might just want to check the box to make that a recurring meeting. So there's no need to create a separate Zoom meeting for every session of a class that extends for several weeks. You can make that meeting into a recurring meeting and then let the students use the same link and the same meeting information to join the meeting each time. That's going to lower the stress level for both teachers and students. Trust me on that. Once you set up a meeting, the Zoom software will automatically generate a meeting ID, a unique meeting ID. It will also provide a passcode for you and turn on the waiting room. You probably experienced the waiting room a little bit with this meeting, I hope, where you were maybe in a waiting room and then admitted by the instructor. This meeting ID and security passcode and waiting room setting is all a way for Zoom to tighten down the security around each of your meetings and prevent what's been called Zoom bombing, where people show up in your meeting, disrupt the meeting, take over the meeting. The meeting ID and the passcode in the waiting room are ways to alleviate those problems. Eileen, I see your hand in the air, your blue hand. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. If we set up a recurring meeting, I know there's an end, you can establish an end date, but will Zoom send reminders to your students, or you still have to do that reminder?
I think you've got to do that on your own. I don't think it's set up to send reminders out in that way. Zoom originally, really at its core, is an enterprise communications tool for businesses, right? And it's being adapted to work with schools, personal meetings, book clubs, whatever it may be. So there are some features built into Zoom from an enterprise standpoint where enterprise information technology people can add in like directories of people and set up calendars and all kinds of fancy stuff for businesses that want to be using Zoom constantly, right? People are constantly going from meeting to meeting to meeting virtually using Zoom. So recurring meetings are kind of an odd duck in that when you are looking at your main Zoom window in that home area, scheduled meetings will show up on the right-hand side of that window, but recurring meetings will not. So actually, you want to try to use the meetings button in that main Zoom window to see all of your scheduled meetings and all of your recurring meetings in one place. But there's still going to be some manual effort involved of reminding students to join meetings at certain times, unless there's something built into ASAP that I don't know about, and maybe Jim is going to cover that a little bit later. We'll just see. Okay. Okay. To finish off scheduling a meeting, you'll decide whether you want to have video available for both the host or the participants, your choice. You want to be able to tell students how to join with audio, either by telephone, computer audio, or more typically really telephone and computer audio. Give the students a choice, let them join with their computer audio. That's usually the easiest way to handle things. And then you have a calendar choice here as well, where you can choose to let Zoom create a calendar event using whatever calendar program you have running on your device. Once I click this save button, it's going to create a calendar event and offer to put it on my calendar for me with all of the meeting details already built in. That's the basics for scheduling a meeting. You just click that schedule button, fill out the details, click save, and your meeting is now scheduled and ready to go with a meeting ID, a passcode, the waiting room setup, and a link. A unique link is created that you can share with your students. So when they want to join the meeting, all they do is probably what you did today. Click the link, it pulls the meeting ID and the passcode out of that link, connects you to the meeting, and you're good to go. It's really, really, really simple.